The curtain has yet to rise on the Miami Open, yet the event is already hemorrhaging elite talent, with 13 formidable competitors abruptly bowing out. A closer examination of the absentee roster reveals a chilling truth. These are not merely inconsequential dropouts. The casualties include past absolute rulers of the sport, conquerors of Grand Slam stages, and titans destined to dictate the rhythm of the entire competition. A bizarre anomaly is casting a shadow over the 2026 Miami Open, sending tremors through the brackets that could drastically scramble the playing field before the first official serve is even struck. Whenever such a massive exodus of athletes occurs, it leaves behind far more than just vacant spaces on a bracket sheet. The entire narrative of the competition undergoes a radical transformation, and the most mind-bending aspect is yet to be revealed. Those unexpected alternates stepping into the spotlight might just forge the most astonishing underdog tales of the fortnight, though understanding the genesis of this massive wave of defections remains the crucial first step. Originally, the 2026 Miami Open was destined to serve as the thrilling second act of the legendary Sunshine Double. Annually, the global tennis caravan migrates directly from the arid courts of Indian Wells to the vibrant humidity of Florida. These back-to-back colossal spectacles offer monumental arenas, where the exact same superstars frequently clash in epic rematches. Everyone anticipated a faithful repetition of that classic storyline. With the Indian Wells Championships concluding this weekend, the tennis universe ought to be practically vibrating with anticipation for the East Coast showdown. Rather than mounting excitement, ominous news reports began surfacing days ahead of the inaugural Florida matchups. Competitors began making silent exits, a solitary departure soon followed by another, until the cascade of dropouts spiraled out of control. As Thursday dawned, a staggering 13 professionals had officially abandoned their posts across both the men's and women's draws. Such an alarming figure instantly commanded attention. While pullouts due to physical breakdowns, exhaustion, or logistical nightmares are standard fare at Masters and WTA 1000 gatherings, this felt entirely different. Attrition remains a natural element of athletics, yet losing 13 contenders defies all statistical norms, particularly when several of those individuals boast massive global appeal. Shifting focus to the women's bracket uncovers the most seismic disruptions, beginning with the unexpected departure of Lois Bassal. Currently occupying the 37th spot in the global standings, she stands out as the most highly rated competitor to abandon the campaign. Intriguingly enough, this particular athlete has been completely absent from competitive play since a fateful day in September. A lingering physical ailment has sidelined her for an agonizingly long period, with the Florida hardcourts initially earmarked as the grand stage for her triumphant return. Reversing course, she formally withdrew earlier in the week, inadvertently gifting Katie Boulter an incredibly serendipitous gateway into the main event. Such 11th-hour golden tickets can entirely rewrite a professional's year. Yet that initial exit merely opened the floodgates, paving the way for three highly decorated Czech warriors to simultaneously abandon ship. Avid followers of the sport understand implicitly that the Czech Republic has served as an unstoppable juggernaut on the women's professional circuit for over a decade. The formidable Markéta Vondrousová led this secondary exodus. The former Wimbledon queen, who once ascended to the 6th spot globally, had previously stunned the sporting realm by capturing the grass court crown in 2023. Whenever she operates at peak physical condition, Vondrousová possesses the uncanny ability to shatter even the most meticulously predicted brackets. Armed with a masterful southpaw style and an entirely unpredictable arsenal of strokes, she remains a lethal threat, though she will sit out the Florida action this season. Her immediate tournament replacement is Julia Grabber. Hot on her heels followed another monumental figure, Barbora Krejcikova, a former global runner-up and the proud owner of 2 Grand Slam singles titles. Krejcikova stands as a paragon of versatility within the professional ranks, boasting a spectacular blend of individual trophies, tag team supremacy, and sheer tactical brilliance. Having cemented her legacy as a brilliant strategic mind upon the baseline, her abrupt departure hands a coveted main draw position straight to Simona Waltert. The casualty report relentlessly expanded to include yet another Czech legend, the former undisputed ruler of the rankings, Karolina Pliskova. For the better part of 10 years, Pliskova has remained an instantly identifiable force, feared primarily for her thunderous deliveries and ruthless baseline assaults. Furthermore, this towering competitor is a 2-time major championship finalist. Despite a catastrophic plunge down to the 261st position, a direct consequence of bodily wear and extended absences, Her mere inclusion in any tournament demands immediate respect. Alas, she too will bypass the neon-lit courts of Florida, paving the way for Alicia Parks to inherit her slot. Naturally, a bewildered fanbase began demanding answers for this unprecedented mass defection. Usually, the underlying causes are remarkably transparent. Usually it comes down to bodily trauma, rehabilitation, or the soul-crushing grind of professional tennis. Conquering the Sunshine Double requires an agonizing physical toll, forcing athletes to pivot directly from the bone-dry desert of California into the suffocating, sweltering moisture of Florida. That brutal atmospheric shift alone pushes champions to the brink. Yet the bleeding did not cease with the three Czech stalwarts. Two more former top 10 elites soon added their names to the casualty sheet: Daria Kasatkina and Veronika Kudermetova. Having once soared to world number 8, Kasatkina has meticulously crafted an aura as one of the most imaginative tacticians currently swinging a racket. Her dizzying array of rotations, razor-sharp angles, and strategic pace changes can mentally dismantle even the most aggressive heavy hitters. The Miami spectacle will nevertheless press forward without her, allowing Elena Gabriela Ruse to assume her battlefield position. Finally, the shadow fell upon Kudermetova, who previously peaked at world number 9, a perpetually lethal wildcard uniquely equipped to obliterate favored seeds. Julia Putintseva stepped into her vacated spot on the bracket, while two more competitors quietly bowed out of the women's division. The exit list grew with Alexandra Olenikova and Wang Yafan stepping aside. Oksana Selekva swept in to claim the first vacancy, while Anastasia Popova inherited the position left by the protected ranking entrant Wang. Tallying up the absences revealed a staggering reality: 8 different athletes had completely vanished from the female singles lineup. 8 distinct departures created an absolute earthquake across the brackets long before a single racket struck a ball. Yet the narrative deepened, as the men's roster suffered its own cascade of high-profile exits, with Holler delivering the most stunning shock of them all. Sitting comfortably at world number 18, the prodigy was heavily favored to secure a prestigious seeding position in southern Florida. Fans adored his relentless baseline attacks and absolute lack of fear, traits that transformed him into an electrifying force on the circuit, yet he vanished from the roster prior to the opening ceremony. Curiously enough, this absence followed a missed appearance at Indian Wells, hinting heavily at an underlying physical ailment, even though official confirmation remained wrapped in silence. Juan Manuel Cerundolo immediately seized the empty slot left behind in the tournament architecture. The exodus marched onward, with Talon Grexpoor becoming the next prominent casualty. Rising steadily through the global hierarchy, the Flying Dutchman seemed destined for a seeded berth, especially given how his lethal forehand and unwavering rhythm perfectly matched the lightning-fast Florida courts. Instead, his campaign ended prematurely, opening the door for James Duckworth to join the fray. Jean Mounard joined the growing casualty list, a fiercely resilient contender who had recently climbed to the 36th spot in the global standings. Conceding his position before the battles could even commence, he cleared a path for Alexander Shevchenko, while the world number 61, Lorenzo Songo, added his name to the defectors. Beloved for his infectious energy and fiery court presence, the vibrant Italian favorite heartbrokenly withdrew his name from contention. Momir Kekmanovic quickly stepped forward to inherit that vacant assignment. The final blow arrived when Jerry Shang surrendered his protected status entry, forcing organizers to shuffle the deck yet again. Combining the devastation across both tours brought the grand total to 13 devastating withdrawals, completely shattering the tournament landscape fans had visualized just 7 days prior. However, this mass exodus paved the way for something incredibly dramatic, as empty slots transformed into golden, life-altering chances. Unknown athletes lingering at the bottom of the ranks suddenly woke up with a ticket to the grandest stage in professional athletics. One fortunate break possessed the power to rewrite an entire destiny, a truth proven time and again by the sport's most legendary underdog stories. It begins with a miraculous entry, evolves through a shocking opening round victory, and snowballs into an unbreakable wave of momentum. Before long, these dark horses are dismantling global titans beneath the blinding stadium glares, and southern Florida has always been a breeding ground for exactly this flavor of beautiful madness. Battles unfold within the colossal architecture of Hard Rock Stadium, a sprawling fortress traditionally reserved for monumental football clashes and deafening musical performances. The air practically hums with a terrifying energy, capable of breaking the spirits of the uninitiated, placing immense life-or-death value on tournament placement. Suddenly, the path to glory lay entirely fractured and unpredictable, setting a chaotic stage just as the reigning monarchs plotted their triumphant return. Aryna Sabalenka marched into the coastal heat carrying the ultimate crown, ready to defend her female divisional supremacy. A year prior, she claimed her maiden victory in the Sunshine State, with a terrifying display of raw power that cemented her status as an absolute terror on the court. Her ruthless, strike-first philosophy flourished magnificently upon the lightning-quick concrete surfaces. Wielding thunderous serves and bone-crushing ground strokes, she applied suffocating pressure, yet guarding a throne remains a monumental task when faced with Florida's notoriously grueling climate. Over in the men's camp, Jacob Mensik stepped back onto the scene to protect his own hard-won championship armor. The previous season had witnessed him pulling off a miraculous heist, stunning the globe by seizing the ultimate prize. That magical campaign catapulted him directly into the international spotlight, cementing his legacy as a rising titan, though he now arrived carrying a massive crosshairs upon his shoulders. Every single challenger in the locker room hungered for the prestige of dethroning the reigning king. However, the sudden decimation of the rival ranks meant his road toward a repeat victory would look wildly unrecognizable. Forecasting outcomes turned practically impossible, as this particular tournament thrived on producing shocking upsets fueled by lingering desert exhaustion, suffocating humidity, and wild psychological shifts. A single element could completely shatter an athlete's focus in a heartbeat, igniting a profound debate among the watching world. Observers began to fiercely question whether the contemporary professional circuit had evolved into a torturous gauntlet, forcing gladiators to cross oceans week after brutal week. Battling shifting climates, contrasting terrains, and marathon brawls on zero rest, numerous competitors finally broke their silence regarding the psychological and physical devastation of the tour. The legendary Sunshine Double stood out as a notoriously brutal stretch of competition, a grueling reality that undoubtedly fueled the massive wave of recent surrenders. Naturally, each departing warrior harbored highly personal motivations for fleeing the battlefield. A handful were desperately trying to heal broken bodies. A few masterminded brilliant tactical retreats to preserve their vitality for the looming majors, while others vanished into the shadows for entirely private matters kept far from the flashing cameras. Yet, to the roaring crowds in the stands, the overarching reality was undeniable. The upcoming spectacle had transformed completely, stripped of its most towering icons. Obscure prodigies were handed the keys to the kingdom, rewriting the entire dramatic narrative before the first ball ever took flight. The entire tennis world now held its breath, wondering which unexpected alternate might emerge from the shadows to shock the crowds under the blazing Florida sun. Whispers circulated endlessly about whether relentless dark horses like Katie Boulter or Anastasia Potapova could seize this rare opening. Alternatively, the seasoned champions might simply tighten their merciless grip, crushing any hopes born from the sudden upheaval. Spectators everywhere furiously debated the outcomes, fully aware that this shattered bracket had suddenly transformed into the most volatile contest of the entire year. Truthfully, such chaotic battlegrounds often forged the greatest spectacles. Whenever the mighty titans fell, fresh legends inevitably rose from the ashes. The main stage of the 2026 Miami Open was set to ignite on March 17th following the brutal qualifiers, culminating in a spectacular championship showdown on March 29th. 14 days of fierce competition promised a fortnight of pure theater. With the pre-tournament dropouts already causing such massive tremors, the actual on-court collisions threatened absolute mayhem. A single undeniable truth remained: this prestigious coastal showdown perpetually served up magnificent twists of fate, and this current edition seemed destined to unleash more shockwaves than anyone could have anticipated. It was yet another thrilling chapter documented by the Red Dust Report, the dedicated chronicle that dissects the fierce rivalries and raw passions fueling the global game. The world watched with bated breath, knowing full well that this wild narrative was only just beginning to unfold.